Hello students, welcome to part 1 of this lecture series on influencer marketing. So by the end of this series you will be able to both evaluate and plan how to use influencer marketing as a tactic for your positive impact projects. So in part 1 right now we're going to be looking at the business and the theoretical context for influencer marketing. So some of the learning outcomes from this mini lecture will be, by the end of the lecture, you should be able to define what an influencer is. You should also be able to appreciate some of the antecedents, so the things that enable or came before influencer marketing, and also understand some similar marketing practices. I'd also hope that you'll be able to start seeing influencer marketing through a marketing communications theory lens, so to kind of appreciate where it fits in the theory and how we can use the theory to plan this particular marketing tactic. I'd also like you to be able to gauge the importance of influencer marketing to businesses to understand how much it's valued and sort of trends around influencer marketing. Finally, I would like you to be able to describe some of the behavioural psychology behind the effectiveness. So why does influencer marketing work? So let's get started. So the first question I would like to pose is, what makes somebody an influencer? So is it perhaps that they have thousands or maybe even millions of followers? Is that what makes them an influencer? So Arwin, who are an agency who deal with both affiliate and influencer marketing, describe an influencer as someone who is trusted by their audience, someone who is seen as an expert, an entertainer, or an aspirational figure, and someone who helps the customer on their buying journey when posting through their personal profiles, so their owned channels on social media. And they have monetized their influence by receiving benefit, whether it's cash or perhaps goods in kind. So this is a definition by Shira, who works for Arwin, an agency that specializes in influencer marketing and affiliate marketing. So to sum up, an influencer marketing is someone who can really affect the customer's thinking or customer's behavior. So how has influencer marketing become such a big or such an important thing? What are the requirements? What's changed recently that's made influencer marketing a key tactic? So I've discussed this term before, so hopefully when I say Web 2.0, some of you might have a recollection of what that means. It's the tipping point when the internet changed from being a place where only brands who had developers could post content to where there were platforms where normal people like you and I can add our content. So when blogs became a thing, when social media platforms became a thing, when build your own website platforms became a thing. So we had this tipping point around the early 2000s, what we call Web 2.0, when many-to-many communication became a thing. So instead of brands using the internet to communicate to many customers, people could communicate to each other. So we had many-to-many communication. So Web 2.0, the proliferation of social media, the fact that most of us in the developed world and developing countries have personal devices, we have smartphones and tablets, and all of this has come together to influence how we behave now. So we behave very differently from consumers in the 90s, perhaps even in the early 2000s, because we have connection to the internet, connection to other people, and connection to influencers. So it was this particular technology and these changes in behavior that have really been the antecedents of influencer marketing. So now anybody with a smartphone and access to the internet can develop an audience and perhaps be influential online. But this is nothing new. Being expert and influencing people is something that marketing companies and advertising brands have been using for many years. They've been using the expert. So I'm sure most of you who still remember watching television and watching television adverts will remember whether it's a toothpaste advert or dental health advert, the person wearing the white lab coat, whether they're a dentist or not, their dress, the clipboard, what they're wearing positions them as an expert, so we trust them. Likewise, in sort of more gender stereotypes advertising of the sort of early 2000s, I guess you still see it today, the mother, the housewife is seen as the expert, the person who's good at getting laundry whiter than white. So fortunately now most adverts are a little bit more balanced in the gender roles that they have people portraying, but there's still sometimes an expert within the household who is good at doing particular jobs, who would only trust a certain brand. So what advertisers are trying to do here is they're trying to get you to trust them because you trust the person. So you trust that person in a white coat, or you trust the housewife. So this is not new to marketing. So leveraging the expert has been a tactic that marketers have used for many years to help reduce questioning over the authenticity of the message. So brands leverage trust, and they leverage the trust that we place in experts. So is influencer marketing a big part of business? Are brands doing it? Are companies spending money on it? So this is some data from PR Week. They're a trusted industry source. Now they gathered together responses from 600 respondents. So these respondents were PR and marketing professionals in the United Kingdom. So from the data, from the questions that they asked and the data that they collated, it's clear to see that the majority, over 75% of this particular sample, are planning to spend pretty big on influencer marketing. So 39% of the participants of PR and marketing professionals questioned, 39% are planning to spend up to £10,000 in the year 2018. 20% were planning to spend somewhere between £10,000 and £100,000 in the year 2018. And 9% were going to spend over £100,000 on influencer marketing in the year 2018. So again, it's very difficult because some of these companies could have been huge. They could be companies like Procter and Gamble that own all the different toiletries and sort of shampoos that we see, or they could be small companies. But what we can see is that companies are certainly spending a large amount on influencer marketing. So please take this as inspiration and do your own research. Try and find some research with Statista that shows what proportion of companies' budgets is now being taken up by spending on influencer marketing. So why is influencer marketing so coveted by brands? Why are brands interested in applying this particular tactic? So many brands have been trying or relying upon traditional advertising. Now, when we're talking about digital, that kind of tends to be what we call pre-roll. So the sort of adverts that you'll get before YouTube clips. Also, you'll have pop-up and interstitial adverts that come up and actually block your viewing. So you might be looking at a particular website and before you know it, ads have popped up or ads have loaded, and they're taking up that valuable reading space and moving things around. And then you've got the banner adverts that most of us have learned to ignore. So all in all, these particular types of adverts, these traditional adverts, are interruptive. So rather than being relationship based, rather than us valuing the message and the person that's bringing it to us, they're actually disrupting us. They're interrupting whatever job we're getting on with. So this means they're intrusive and annoying. So nobody particularly likes having their whatever they're reading or whatever they're watching interrupted by an unrequested ad. And these ads lack authenticity, so we constantly have to have a filtering out all of these messages, because otherwise we'd be parted with our money too easily. So the messages often lack authenticity. So brands have a real challenge. How do they develop trust through adverts? So this is where influencer marketing can be really, really important and beneficial, because it can help bypass all of these issues and others. So hopefully, well, most of you might be using ad blockers. I know I use an ad blocker on my desktop. For some reason, I haven't got around to putting one on my phone. I wish I should actually, because there's nothing more annoying when you're looking for a recipe or something, and every time you read a few words, the words move because another ad is loading. A lot of sites that are publishing sites where they're giving you useful content for free, like recipes, the way they make money is by actually having adverts on their website. So unfortunately, that's part of the whole getting something for free trade-off. But increasingly people are using ad blockers, and this can be a big problem for companies because it's become a way of actually reaching people when they're online. There's another issue with something called programmatic advertising. It's a bit of a complicated process to describe at the moment, but it's basically to do with agencies and programs that will choose the best place to put your display advert, which websites your advert should be on to get in front of the right people. And then these systems will tell you how many people have clicked. Now, unfortunately, these processes and programs are vulnerable to click fraud. So there are actually little bots clicking the ads, not real people. So companies are getting charged for people clicking the ad for click-through when it's not actually a real person. So again, there's a lot of problems around sort of programmatic advertising and knowing that for the brand to know they're getting a good return on investment and real people clicking on their ads. And as mentioned earlier, banner blindness. So apparently we are more likely to be hit by lightning than we are to click on a banner ad. So traditional digital advertising is quite challenging. There are many, many problems, and influencer marketing can help us bypass many of these issues. So influencer marketing is more authentic. People just naturally trust other people that are like them. So whether it's user-generated content, whether it's online word of mouth, or whether it's influencer generated content. So whether you're watching your favorite influencer trying a product, even if they've confessed and been honest that they've received it free of charge, we tend to believe them more than we would the message coming directly from the brand. So influencer marketing garners the benefit of earned media, but with the control of paid media. So some of the other benefits of influencer marketing include getting very, very specific getting targeted access to specific audiences. So let's say you were using an influencer who is highly influential in the gaming industry, and people hang off their every word. They pay close attention to their opinions and their reviews about a particular game. Those people are, if you are selling games, the perfect audience for your product. They are interested in gaming. They want to sort of gather information before they purchase a game. So by working with an influencer, you can get access to very specific audiences and very targeted audiences. So Nathan Michael of influencer agency Low Res says that you can gain engaging, honest, authentic communication with potential customers, creating great relationships. So that's a really nice summary of some of the benefits that you can get from using influencer marketing. So where does influencer marketing fit in within marketing communications theory? So as mentioned earlier, when you're using influencers, you're really leveraging the earned effect. So even though influencers should, if they are conforming to regulations, be honest and transparent as to whether they have received payment or whether they have received goods in kind, so they've been sent something for free in return for reviewing it, we still give more trust because it's that person-to-person content rather than direct branded content. So the brand, by using an influencer, is leveraging the earned effect, or the fact that we trust earned communication more than branded communication. So another thing that brands can do by using influencer marketing is actually leveraging the credibility of the influencer. So you're leveraging the credibility of the spokesperson. So Phil and Turnbull in 2016, their textbook, highlight that people who deliver the message are often regarded as the source, when in reality they are only the messenger. These people carry the message and represent the true source or the initiator of the message. So if your audience trusts the influencer, they kind of almost forget that the message is coming from the brand and see the message is coming directly from the influencer, and they trust the influencer. So they're kind of regarded as a source. So again, even though we do have this critical thinking and we are always sort of filtering out branded messages, we just tend to naturally trust the source when it comes from someone that we respect and someone whose influence we appreciate. So brands borrow or leverage influencers' credibility. Brands leverage their trusted status. They make use of their access to a very specific targeted audience. They also look to borrow their expertise, being great about speaking, great and talented in speaking to their core demographic. So most influencers will have a very specific style that's very suited to their audience, that their audience relates to. And it's quite often difficult for brands to achieve this. And also brands are gaining their influencers' social proof, so the influencer's opinion, review or endorsement. So influencer marketing has really taken us beyond the epoch of one-to-many and really kind of exemplify the kind of many-to-many sort of communication that's happening in marketing now. So many years ago, pre-Web 2.0, quite often communication was from one company to many in the audience, whether that's a broadcast advert on a television show. So influencers have really changed that dynamic now. So it's not only brands that can communicate to huge audiences, it's not just agencies and actors, it's now ordinary people who can reach hundreds or even millions of people and become an expert or an influencer. So, and again, an influencer really becomes a sort of a marketing influencer when they start to monetize. So when they start to get some sort of financial gain or benefit from their audience and from their influence. So I'd like you now to just reflect on the earlier learning outcomes. So hopefully now, having watched this presentation and perhaps going back through it, you will be able to define what an influencer is. Hopefully you should be able to appreciate some of the marketing tactics and some of the technology developments that were necessary for influencer marketing as we know it today to become a thing. Hopefully you'll also be able to see where influencer marketing fits in marketing communications theory, so see it through a theoretical lens in terms of trust and authenticity of messaging. Hopefully you'll also be able to see, and through your own further research, the importance of influencer marketing to businesses. And now also be able to describe the behavioural psychology behind the effectiveness of influencer marketing. So I have a little activity for you now. I'd suggest you either work in your whole group or perhaps break down into small pairs or a 3 if that's the size of your group. I would like you to make a couple of notes and then have a nice chat, a discussion, and just talk about which influencers you currently follow. And discuss with each other, how did you actually discover those influencers? Did you come across them in your feed when they were talking about a product, or did you come across them because you were actually looking for a product and they were the person who were most trusted and gave you the right advice and the right information? Have a think about why you trust that influencer. What is it that they do to earn your trust? Are they very candid? Are they very detailed? Do they talk about the good things and the bad things? Ask yourself, are they actually experts? Do they have any qualifications or anything that makes them more expert than somebody else, whether it's sort of in music, makeup or gaming? Also think to yourself, has an influencer ever influenced your purchase decision? Have you ever thought, I might buy that, and then having seen some reviews or an unboxing think, yes, I'm going to buy that? Or perhaps you didn't even know you needed something until you saw an influencer talking about it, reviewing it or unboxing it. And ask yourself finally, do you trust influencers more than you trust traditional adverts and branded content? So that's the end of this session now. So please just take, maybe 10-15 minutes to reflect on these points and start to attach the new concepts that I've delivered to your own experience, and that will help you to internalize them, remember them, and then adapt that and apply that new knowledge to your influencer marketing strategy for your positive impact project. So I will see you at our next video. Any questions, please do drop me an email.